Good evening and welcome to Borough Hall. My name is Tanya Cantlow and I'm the acting counsel to Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams. To my right I have Ina Gusenfeld, who's the land use coordinator, and Richard Barrick, who is the land use director. There are 5 items on the agenda this evening. Please note that this hearing is being recorded to comply with the public law for transparency. It will be available for viewing on Borough President Adams' website, brooklyn-usa.org, or on the One Brooklyn channel on YouTube. Again, web viewers may submit timely comments to Ask Eric at brooklynbp.nyc.gov for Borough President Adams' consideration. Please call the first item and let us begin.
Calendar item number 1180-171, ZMK.
This application submitted by Congregation Hasdai Beth Malka pursuant to sections 197-C and 201 of the New York City Charter for a zoning map amendment affecting the Avenue C, Dayhill Road, and Mcdonald Avenue frontages of a block in Brooklyn Community District 12. The zoning map amendment would add AC2-4 overlay to the existing R5 district on the block. Such action would affect property located at 317 Dayhill Road and 600 Mcdonald Avenue by bringing an existing non-conforming commercial banquet facility housed within the interconnected cellar area of 2 school buildings into legal conforming status. Community Board 12 voted on this application on December 19, 2018. Though there was no quorum, the members present approved the application. Would Adam Rothkrog, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
Good evening, Adam Rothkrug. Thank you for having us. As you described, we're here this evening in connection with a rezoning application filed on behalf of the Congregation Hasdai Beth Malka to map a C24 commercial overlay on the existing R5 zoning district. The commercial zoning is designed to permit the continued operation of their existing commercial banquet facility located in the combined cellars of 2 of their buildings and will not allow any enlargements or other changes to the existing buildings. The proposed zoning district and lines were selected after consultation with the Department of City Planning, and it includes the length of the school building on Mcdonald Avenue, along with the school building on Dayhill Road. Those are the buildings outlined in red. And it also includes 5 unaffiliated buildings along Avenue C, in which the underlying R5 residential zoning will not be affected. The commercial overlay does not result in an increase in the permitted floor area ratio, and the buildings on Avenue C are currently all overbuilt, so the change will not allow their enlargement either. The existing banquet hall is approximately 20,000 square feet of gross floor area, primarily in the cellars of the buildings at 317 Dayhill and 600 Mcdonald Avenue, during the day, which are both occupied as schools, girls' schools. And during the day, this area acts as a cafeteria for the school. It accommodates a maximum of approximately 400 people, and previously obtained a place of assembly permit from the Department of Buildings, which confirmed their compliance with all applicable building code and safety rules and regulations. Use of the room for banquets is permitted, but under the R5 zoning, it's only permitted for events that are accessory to the schools themselves. This has been operating as a commercial banquet facility, serving the surrounding community and offering what are considered moderately priced weddings. So it does provide a service to the community. So we want to, the rezoning will permit the continued use for accessory and well as non-accessory banquets. Both of the buildings, the 317 Dayhill and 600 Mcdonald Avenue, as I said, are girls' schools. Both were previously approved by the Board of Standards and Appeals. Both had variances for floor area, so that the Board of Standards and Appeals will still be involved in reviewing the banquet use if approved pursuant to the rezoning. The area to be rezoned is a narrow sliver of R5 zoning that separates two M1 manufacturing districts. There. This shows the rezoned area with the dotted line. So you have M1 area to the right, and you have M1 and M2 areas to the left. You have a mixed use on this block itself, and a mix of commercial uses, manufacturing uses, and residential uses. As I said, the proposed overlay and the contours, the borders were reviewed after we reviewed 5 or 6 different options with the Department of City Planning. But right now, the buildings along Mcdonald Avenue and on the adjacent block to the east and west are mapped with manufacturing districts, contain a variety of commercial and manufacturing uses with garages, building supply shops, catering, other catering halls, and other commercial uses. In addition to the proposed development site, the project area includes 5 lots fronting on Avenue C. I think we have a photo of those 5. There. The 5 buildings to the right are on Avenue C. Those are included in the rezoned area, but it's not anticipated that the rezoning will lead to any changes. As I said, they're overbuilt with regard to floor area. One of them is developed as a community facility, a mosque at the present time. And as you can see, these buildings are not really conducive to the establishment of commercial uses because they have step-down basements and step-up first floors. So they'd have to be substantially altered to permit commercial use. The banquet facility, as I said, is about 20,000 square feet. A full environmental review was done as part of the zoning change application and found that the change would not have any significant environmental impact. A parking study was done for the Board of Standards and Appeals and determined that the parking in the area is not substantially affected on the nights that there are events. Other than that, we have representatives of the school and the catering facility to respond to any questions the Borough President's office has. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, we have 3 questions for you. First question is, typically, how often is the banquet facility in use during a typical week? How many staff are employed directly by the banquet operations? And also, if you can describe hiring outreach done by the operator as a means to maximize locally based employment.
So the facility has events on Sunday through Thursday. There are no events on Friday or Saturday. So it's 3 or 4 a week. It's about, the last couple of years have been 150 to 160 per year. The facility has 6 full-time employees. This is just for the banquet facility. 8 part-time employees and 15 to 20 part-time waiters. The nature of the business is that these are people that are usually hired locally from local employment agencies, and again, it's a lot of the wait staff obviously is local staff, so most of these jobs are Brooklyn-based jobs. There's no recruiting that's done outside of the area.
And I know the second question is, please describe how patrons of the banquet facility arrive and depart the facility, where and when deliveries are received, and where and when you have garbage is brought to the street and picked up.
So I can move. This is Mcdonald Avenue. This is where the F train comes out of the ground. So this is there's no other uses along this area. Mcdonald Avenue is kind of like a private street for us. So the activity, the main banquet entrance is over here. Most of the drop-off is here. There's a separate entrance for women on the corner of Mcdonald and Avenue C. Garbage for the banquet events is put out the night of the event and picked up within a couple hours afterwards. It's put out down here on McDonald Avenue, and that's how the trash is taken care of. The events usually run from about 6:30 in the evening to 11 p.m. The nature of the Jewish weddings that are typically held here, some family members stay later till 12 or 1 a.m., but that's usually the immediate family.
Oh, okay. No, she was just saying, you didn't mention when and where the deliveries, where they're received.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So, yeah, so deliveries are received on Mcdonald Avenue as well. It's typical to be, I would say, between 2 and 4 deliveries related to the banquet facility, and those are usually done during normal 8:30 to 5 p.m. operating hours.
Last question we have is regarding the off-site valet parking facility. What is its capacity, typical utilization, and how long does the venue operator have guaranteed access to this property?
So we have a yearly lease for the property that's been renewed year after year for 4 or 5 years now without incident. It has accommodates about 100 cars maximum. It's about a block and a half away on the other side of 15th Avenue. And the typical usage is probably about 50 to 60 spaces. It's rarely necessary to use it for full capacity.
If you could provide the exact address to that parking facility?
Yeah, that's at 3611 14th Avenue.
That concludes my questions.
Thank you very much.
Sure. I don't think we have any speaker slips. Is there anyone that would like to speak that has not signed a speaker slip? Okay, if not, Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 1 is closed. Calendar item number 2, 190176 PQK.
This application submitted by the New York City Administration for Children's Services, the New York City Department for the Aging, and the New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services pursuant to Section 197-C of the New York City Charter for the acquisition of a child care and senior center located at 460 Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn Community District 2. Such actions would facilitate the continued provision of child care and senior services at this site according to a lease. Community Board 2 waived its right to review this application on December 12, 2018. Would Kenneth Robinson, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
So I guess we'll take a pause, and you want to double check your messages then? And then if you're comfortable just talking about the DIFTA part, I guess we can at least get you on record if you want to get out of here.
Okay.
Works perfect, right? That work for you?
Yes, that works for me.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lee Boys. I'm from the New York City Department for the Aging. I'm the Director of Facilities Management. I'm here tonight to talk about the lease renewal of the Times Plaza Senior Center at 460 Atlantic Avenue. The Senior Center has made its home here since 1972. There was, in the early 90s, a 20-year lease renewal, and we're here. We had asked for an additional 20 years. At this point, I think DCAS is only negotiating 10 years. So this senior center is operated by the Spanish-speaking Elderly Council, Raíces, and under contract with DIFTA. They're open from 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. They serve breakfast and lunch, and people arrive on foot or use public transportation to reach the building. They're all senior citizens, 60 years of age or older, and it's a fairly diverse clientele. They offer standard senior center services like meals and exercise and recreation parties. There's also a very strong senior mental health component at this center. So we're proud of this center, like we are of all of our centers, and we look forward to having them serve the community for many years to come.
So, yeah, you gave us that part of that.
So I just have a question for you, okay?
Okay.
It is Borough President Adams' policy to maximize opportunities for Brooklynites with local businesses. Therefore, when hiring opportunities arise, how do the child care and senior centers go about filling such opportunities?
In this case, it's the senior center.
All right, okay, senior center, go about filling such opportunities, and what steps might be taken in the future to promote local-based hiring?
So it's my understanding that they advertise in just local resources. All of the staff that I've met from the center live in Brooklyn. And so I think there's some word of mouth, there's some outreach to social work schools, especially for internships and volunteer opportunities. But it seems like a very Brooklyn-centric operation.
Perfectly
you.
timed. You can
Yeah, it's
come
perfect.
join us.
Hi,
Get your
Kenneth.
coat
How are
off
you?
and you can come join us.
Would Kenneth Robinson, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
My name's Kenneth Robinson. I'm with the Office of General Counsel of ACS. Good evening, representatives of the Borough President, members of the community, etc. I'm here to ask that the Borough President's Office approve our application for a new lease for the site at 460 Atlantic Avenue to keep it at its present uses as a daycare facility as well as a senior center. This has been a daycare center since 1972. It was reapproved in 1994, and it's continuing its use. It's run up to by Strong Place for Hope, which I believe has another facility in Red Hook, which we have recently purchased, and there's some other facility which I can't speak of. It has been serving the community for many, many years, and it's also DFTA is also has a facility in there, which I can't speak to, but hopefully a representative from DFTA.
They spoke already.
Oh, they did, okay, fine.
So,
Then I'll leave that part out. And I'm ready for questions.
Okay, we have a few questions for you. So the first question is, it is in the interest of the community for child care facilities to serve neighborhood residents. What is the number of contract seats, and what is the criteria for selecting children to attend the center when vacancies arise?
The criteria for selecting children is that they have to meet the early learn criteria, which is 200%. The parents have to earn no more than 200% of the federal poverty level, which varies from year to year. And the parent also has to be engaged in some worthwhile activity, including working, looking for work up to 6 months, in a job training or educational program, or having a temporary residence, that is, not having a permanent residence.
so that might include like a homeless shelter.
Yes. And what were the other questions?
What is the
Was
number of contract seats?
contracted seats? I believe somehow I've gotten the wrong site, but I recall reviewing the notes. Previously, it was up to 100 contracted by ACS.
Right, and the second question, Borough President Adams had been concerned that the city lease terms were not as long as they had been in the past. Because more financially lucrative opportunities are available to landlords, child care and senior facilities are at risk from losing their leases and not being able to continue serving their communities. What consideration has been given to incorporating streetscape improvements to existing? Excuse me. Borough President Adams appreciates the unlike lease renewals at the start of this administration when leases were proposed for 5 years. Applications are more likely to be returning to calling for 20-year terms. What is the anticipated duration of this lease, and what rights would the city have to renew?
Those are, well, the proposed initial term of the lease is 10 years. We're looking for 2 after that. That is all, the rest of it is all under negotiation. DCAS will have the answers, but the negotiation is still pending, so there's no final answer, but our initial term is 10 years. We look for 2 additional renewal terms of 5 years.
As part of Borough President Adams' Cross Brooklyn Initiative, or Connecting Residents on Safer Streets, the Borough President believes that making street crossings safer for children and seniors should be a priority. The Child Care and Senior Center's location at the intersection of Atlantic Avenue and Nevin Street provides an opportunity to improve street safety by introducing a variety of traffic calming measures. What steps are ACS and DIFTA prepared to take to coordinate with DOT to address the pedestrian safety along Atlantic Avenue and Nevin Street?
Okay, I can't speak really for DIFTA. As far as ACS is concerned, well, DCAS will be doing the negotiations for all, but we are looking into street calming measures. Atlantic Avenue is, of course, a very busy street. Nevin somewhat less so. But that's being, we are reaching out to the Department of Transportation to see what we can do about that.
And if you want to add anything, you're welcome to come up if you want to contribute to that. You want to go up by the mic?
We've actually had a series of preliminary meetings with city planning about street calming and about facade improvements.
Thank you. Part of Borough President Adams' vision for Brooklyn includes beautification of our streets while addressing best stormwater management practices. What consideration has been given to incorporating streetscape improvements to existing features such as involving a community arts organization to create a mural, adding a street bench to as part of DOT's City Bench initiative, and expanding the tree pits to advance best stormwater management practices through utilization of rain gardens?
Again, as far as beautification goes, I believe there's a program at Pratt which we have reached out to. I don't have any further definite information about that. And we also habitually have been reaching out to Department of Transportation and CPC to see what we could, DCP rather, to see what we can do about storm management.
So prior to you arriving, we did ask this question to DIFTA. I can pose it to you as well. It is Borough President Adams' policy to maximize opportunities for Brooklynites with local businesses. Therefore, when hiring opportunities arise, how do the child care and senior centers go about filling such opportunities, and what steps might be taken in the future to promote local-based hiring?
Okay. First, there is a daycare citywide daycare website which reaches out for hiring. By word of mouth, people are notified to look at that. Also, various early childhood education programs. The facility does post at the employment bulletin boards for that. I do know from experience, in the other part of my work, which is dealing with removing reports of maltreatment. When these involve daycare workers, I find almost universally that the worker, teacher or assistant teacher, does work in the community and has an address not too far away from the facility where they work at. So it must be working to some extent.
Is there anyone that would like to speak that hasn't filled out a speaker slip? Okay. If not, Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 2 is closed. Calendar item number 3, 190181 PQK,
What is the address there?
813 Sterling Place.
813 Sterling. Okay.
This application submitted by the New York City Administration for Children's Services and the New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services pursuant to Section 197-C of the New York City Charter for the acquisition of a child care center located at 813 Sterling Place in Brooklyn Community District 8. Such actions would facilitate the continued provision of child care at this site according to a lease. Community Board 8 will vote on this application on January 10th. Borough President Adams will hold off on making any decisions until he hears from the board. Would Kenneth Robinson, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
Okay, hi. Members of the Borough President staff, members of the community, my name is Kenneth Robinson. I am with the Office of General Counsel of Administration for Children's Services, and I'm asking as the Borough President approve a new lease for this facility. This facility had been a daycare center operating first under the auspices of Human Resources Administration since 1971 and since its beginning in 1996 under the auspices of ACS. This has been a very well-utilized facility. It served the community well. There was last Thursday, the 3rd, a Land Use Committee meeting of Community Board 8, at which time several speakers there indicated how well the facility seems to be run, how well the physical plant was, that there had not been a complaint to DOH since 2006. There hadn't been a violation since 2001, which speaks something about the facility itself, and it seems to be a well thought of facility, and daycare as well as senior centers, I believe, help stabilize the community in this era of rising costs and displaced populations. And I'm open to questions.
So, of course, most of these questions are still going to be the same from the previous
yeah, but-
application.
Right.
The first question, it is in the interest of the community for child care facilities to serve neighborhood residents. What is the number of contract seats, and what are the criteria for selecting children to
Okay.
attend the center?
The criteria is that the parents have to meet the early learn criteria, income criteria, which is 200% of the federal poverty line, and the parents must be engaged in certain activities that require child care use. These activities include working, work training program, educational program, up to 6 months of looking for work, and not having a permanent address. The number of contracted seats at this time at this facility is 165 preschoolers.
Okay. Second question. Borough President Adams had been concerned that the city lease terms were not as long as they have been in the past because more financially lucrative opportunities are available to landlords. Child care facilities are at risk from losing their leases and not being able to continue serving their communities. Borough President Adams appreciates that unlike lease renewals at the start of this administration, when leases were proposed for 5 years, applications are more likely to be returning to calling for 20-year terms. What is the anticipated duration of this lease, and what rights would the city have to renew?
Okay. It's still under negotiation. Perhaps DCAS will have more detailed information. However, the information I have is that it's an initial term of 10 years with 2 5-year renewals. But again, that's subject to negotiation and the intransigence or whatever of the owner.
Borough President Adams' vision for Brooklyn includes beautification of our streets while addressing best stormwater management practices. What consideration has been given to incorporating streetscape improvements to existing features, such as involving a community arts organization to create a mural, adding a street bench to as part of DOT's City Bench initiative, and expanding the tree pits to advance best stormwater management practices through utilization of rain gardens?
Again, we have reached out, and again, DCAS is doing the negotiations, but there is a program, I believe, at Pratt, which involves the outside wall beautification and mural making. That's under consideration. As far as the streetscape, et cetera, that we have reached out, or in the process of reaching out to Department of Transportation, Department of Parks, to see if we can get any street furniture and storm protection.
It is Borough President Adams' policy to maximize opportunities for Brooklynites with local businesses. Therefore, when hiring opportunities arise, how does the Child Care Center go about filling such opportunities, and what steps might be taken to promote locally based hiring?
There's advertising on a citywide daycare website. There's also advertising at schools of early childhood education, and by word of mouth, interested members of the communities are advised to look at these sites.
Okay. No speakers. Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 3 is closed. Calendar item number 4, Urban Strategies Daycare Center, 160226 PQK.
That's 1091 Sutter.
1091 cents, there we go.
This application submitted by the New York City Administration for Children's Services and the New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services pursuant to Section 197-C of the New York City Charter for the acquisition of a child care center located at 1091 Sutter Avenue in Brooklyn Community District 5. Such actions would facilitate the continued provision of a child care at this site according to a lease. Community Board 5 voted to approve this application on December 19th. Would Kenneth Robinson, the representative for the application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
Good evening, members of the Borough President staff, members of the community. My name is Kenneth Robinson. I'm with the Office of General Counsel of ACS, and I'm here to advocate that the Borough President's office approve a new lease for the site so it can continue as a daycare center. This has been a daycare center for many, many years, since 1975. And it's first under the auspices of Human Resources Administration, and then since 1996 under Administration for Children's Services. It has been serving the community. It has been a anchor in the community, and we request that the Borough President recognize and continue and approve its continuation of use as such. And I'm ready for questions.
So what are the number of contract seats, and what is the criteria for selecting children to attend the center when vacancies arise?
There's, at this point, 139 contracted seats. The criteria are that the parents meet the criteria for a dual eligibility, childcare and Head Start, meaning the family earn up to 100% of the federal poverty level, and have a reason for care. The reason for care includes working, being in school or a training program, not having a permanent home, or up to 6 months of looking for work.
Thank you. Borough President Adams had been concerned that the city lease terms were not as long as they've been in the past because more financially lucrative opportunities are available to landlords. Child care facilities are at risk from losing their leases and not being able to continue serving their communities. Borough President Adams appreciates the unlike lease renewals at the start of the administration. When leases were proposed for 5 years, applications are more likely to be returning to calling for 20-year terms. What is the anticipated duration of this lease, and what rights would the city have to renew?
Again, it's under negotiation with DCAS. We can just, provide input to DCAS of what terms we want. But the proposed initial term is 10 years with 2 renewal terms of 5 years. Again, it'll be knocked out during negotiations.
As part of Borough President Adams' Cross Brooklyn Initiative or Connecting Residents on Safer Streets, the Borough President believes that making street crossings safer for children and seniors should be a priority. The Child Care Center's location at the intersection of Sutter and Atkins Avenues provides an opportunity to improve street safety by introducing a variety of traffic calming measures. What steps is ACS prepared to take to coordinate with DOT to address pedestrian safety along Sutter and Atkins Avenues?
At this point, we have reached out, or will be in the process of reaching out to DOT to install some traffic calming measures. The specifics we don't have at this point, but habitually we've been doing that.
Part of Borough President Adams' vision for Brooklyn includes beautification of our streets while addressing best stormwater management practices. What consideration has been given to incorporating streetscape improvements to existing features such as adding a street bench to as part of DOT's City Bench initiative and expanding the tree pits to advance best stormwater management practices through utilization of rain gardens?
We're in the process, or have done, reached out to DOT for as far as street benches goes, and to Department of Parks regarding planting trees.
It is Borough President Adams' policy to maximize opportunities for Brooklynites with local businesses. Therefore, when hiring opportunities arise, how does the Child Care Center go about filling such opportunities? And what steps might be taken in the future to promote locally based hiring?
All the daycare centers, including this one, advertise on a citywide website. They also advertise by the ancient means of 3x5s and 5x8 cards at the schools that have early childhood education programs, word of mouth, and possibly, I'm not sure if this is done yet, but it could be considered certainly, having a Facebook page encouraging community people with the appropriate credentials to look to apply for positions there. But again, in my experience, which kind of intersects with this area of my work, I've discovered that many, if not all, daycare teachers, assistant teachers, and other personnel do live near the facility, and sometimes there's a walking distance.
Okay, so that concludes the questions for calendar number 4. If Richard could close this calendar item.
Calendar item number 4 is closed. Calendar item number 5, 370 New Lots Avenue, 190182 PQK.
This application submitted by the New York City Administration for Children's Services in the New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services pursuant to Section 197-C of the New York City Charter for the acquisition of a child care center located at 370 New Lots Avenue in Brooklyn, Community District 5. Such actions would facilitate the continued provision of child care at this site according to a lease. Community Board 5 voted to approve the application on December 19th. Would Kenneth Robinson, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
Members of the Borough President staff, members of the community, good evening. My name is Kenneth Robinson, and I'm with the Office of General Counsel of ACS, and I'm here to ask the Borough President to approve a new lease to continue using the site as a daycare facility. This has been in use as a daycare facility since 1972, first under the auspices of Human Resources Administration, and since 1996 under the then newly established Administration for Children's Services. This has been a fixture in the community for several generations of people who have either gone to this facility or sent their children and grandchildren to this facility. It is an anchor, and we're asking that it continue its current usage, and I'm ready for questions.
Okay, so the first is, what's the criteria for selecting children to attend the center? And the other part is, what is the number of contract seats?
Okay. At this time, there are 100 contract seats. The criteria are that the families have to be certified and eligible for child care, for early learning child care, meaning the families earn up to 200% of the federal poverty level and have a reason for care. These reasons include working, being in school, being in a training program, up to 6 months of looking for work, or not having a permanent address.
Borough President Adams had been concerned that the city lease terms were not as long as they had been in the past because more financially lucrative opportunities are available to landlords. Child care facilities are at risk from losing their leases and not being able to continue serving their communities. Borough President Adams appreciates the unlike lease renewals at the start of this administration. When leases were proposed for 5 years, applications were more likely to be returning to calling for 20-year terms. What is the anticipated duration of this lease, and what rights would the city have to renew?
Okay, while these are being to be determined and are being negotiated by DCAS, at this point, we're asking for an initial 10-year lease with 2 renewal terms of up to 5 years each. However, that remains to be determined during the course of negotiations.
As part of Borough President Adams' Cross Brooklyn Initiative, or Connecting Residents on Safer Streets, the Borough President believes that making street crossings safer for children and seniors should be a priority. The Child Care Center's location at the intersection of New Lots and Pennsylvania Avenues provides an opportunity to improve street safety by introducing a variety of traffic calming measures. What steps is ACS prepared to take to coordinate with DOT to address pedestrian safety along New Lots and Pennsylvania Avenues?
Again, we're in the process of negotiation or reaching out to the Department of Transportation to institute traffic calming measures at this site, which serves fragile population, young population.
Part of Borough President Adams' vision for Brooklyn includes beautification of our streets while addressing best stormwater management practices. What consideration has been given to incorporating streetscape improvements to existing features, such as involving a community arts organization to create a mural adding a street bench to as part of DOT City Bench initiative, and expanding the tree pits to advance best stormwater management practices through utilization of rain gardens?
Okay, again, there is a program at Pratt, which we have been in the process of reaching out to beautify the outside facade. and reaching out to the Department of Transportation about street furniture, it doesn't exist here now, and to the Department of Parks about tree lawn.
And our last question is, it is Borough President Adams' policy to maximize opportunities for Brooklynites with local businesses. Therefore, when hiring opportunities arise, how does the Child Care Center go about filling such opportunities, and what steps might be taken in future to promote locally based hiring?
Again, there is a citywide daycare website which posts job openings. Also, the early childhood education programs at various teaching institutions, including the City College and other places, do have advertisements in their placement office. Word of mouth at this point is utilized to encourage people to reach out towards these facilities. In future, perhaps more social media could be used to point applicants towards openings. However, as I've said in other hearings, many of the teaching staff, at least, do live near the facilities.
There are no speakers. Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 5 is closed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you.
The hearing of these items is now closed. Thank you for participating in this public hearing. Borough President Adams will review the applications we heard today and will soon submit his recommendations to the City Planning Commission. Borough President Adams would like to take this opportunity to remind you that the City Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on these items. The hearing is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Borough President Adams would like to remind those viewing on the website that timely comments can be submitted by email to askeric@brooklynbp.nyc.gov. Have a good evening.
Thank you.